So I don't actually know the address of this house, but I'm on the Orange Trail in Staten Island, Chapin Woods, and 2015 I was working for UPS and I delivered to houses on the street that's on the other side of this berm here, this hill. And this house was just like it is now, completely unfinished, covered in graffiti, surrounded by fencing. I've even been in there once. When I was trying to be like more healthy, but I couldn't commit to it, I was doing a lot of hiking videos. And one of my hiking videos, I went inside the house and I mean, there's nothing there. It's like concrete floors and then metal, and then they didn't even put up the walls. Like, it's just the framing for the walls. There's no walls, there's nothing. It is just the skeleton of a house. And I know it had been like that before I started working for UPS. So I think it's been like this for almost 20 years, or 20 years. It's been unfinished and an eyesore. And I've heard from people who live in the area that basically they removed so much dirt and stuff to start building the house that when they never finished, they didn't make sure that the earth that they had moved wasn't going to wash away. And they've had, I wouldn't say landslides, but like the runoff, if it's really bad, will clog the drains and stuff. That's what I heard. I don't remember exactly. It was a while since I talked to the person who like lived in the area, but that was when I was working at Walgreens. I met somebody who lived in the area and knew of this house. I worked at Walgreens at Clove and Victory before it closed, because Walgreens' idea of business is we're going to put a Walgreens in and see if it sticks. Most of the time they close. I mean, when I started working at Walgreens in 2016, there were 3 that closed within 3 years. There was the Walgreens that was right next to the Barnes & Noble by the mall. That closed. Then the one at Clove and Victory closed. And then when you go down Forest Avenue where Staples used to be, there was a Staples, now it's a Target. On Forest Avenue, there was a CVS and a Walgreens built in the same structure. So, like, I thought that was the dumbest thing I had ever heard. It was like, I don't know if this would be totally equal, but I mean, like, would be like putting a Dunkin' Donuts and a Starbucks next to each other. It was so stupid. And they all closed. And then the one by PS13 in Tompkinsville off of Highland, it's now a OG Fresh supermarket or something like that. It's a supermarket now. That one closed. Basically, all these Walgreens would just pop up and then they would just systematically close and they would call it a day. But going back to the original story, I think maybe like 20 years since that house was started, and it's just sat there for 20 years. But when I was working at Walgreens, this is why I brought up Walgreens, at Clove and Victory, that's where the Walgreens was, down Clove Road in front of Clove Lakes Park, there was a house that was never finished. It's only been finished within the last 10 years. And I mean, when I was a kid and I was going to the YMCA on Broadway, it was always unfinished, and it looked like it was never going to be finished because my parents said that the house was unfinished when they moved to the island, and that was in 1988. So it had already been unfinished for close to 20 years when I was born. Actually, when I was born, that would have been more like 10. But by the time I was working at Walgreens in 2016. It was still unfinished. So it sat unfinished with like exposed insulation and other stuff. And there was just tarping to keep the rain out. It was finally finished. But that house on this hill, it's just gonna stay like that. What a waste of money. This is a nice pond. Well, like and subscribe.